Hello, it's Mary Beth Shaw from StencilGirl Products, and I'm here with another Almost Live. A couple weeks ago, we made this little sort of doodle sheet using a variety of stencils, and I thought it would be fun to show you some of the things I might do with a sheet like this. We talked about it briefly, but you know what? Let's just play. So the first thing I do is I'm going to make basically like a kind of a motherboard of collaged and painted items so that this can be torn up and used in whatever it is you might want to use. So for instance, if you're interested in making greeting cards, you could cut this down. After we finish it, you could cut it down and layer up something, a piece of this on the front of a greeting card. Or if you're into tags, or if you're into collage, or for your journal, or whatever. So the first thing I did was come up with a color scheme because I believe that makes it a little bit easier and it makes the whole thing slightly more cohesive. So I am using Paper Artsy Fresco Finish, chalk acrylics, khaki, pumpkin soup, and blood orange. This one is super opaque, and then these two are translucent. I also pulled some collage elements in similar colors, similar-ish colors, I should say. And I think I'm going to start with this more opaque color at the moment. And I'm just going to put a little bit around on my page here. Scribe through it with the end of my brush as I do. And let me give a shout out to this brush. This is a silver golden natural brush, 3/4 inch. I have bought this brush over and over. That's how much I like it. It is great as a glue brush. It's great as a brush like this when you're just blending up some colors on the fly. It is a workhorse of a brush, and I have one at home, I have one here at the studio, I have one in my travel bag. That's how much I love this brush. So, and the 3/4 inch to me is just the ideal size for me to cover enough territory to make it worthwhile, but it doesn't go overboard. So, all right, my goal right now is to just get some color on the page, and I don't know if I shook this one. We'll see. We shall see soon enough. You could color in some of these component parts that you've made if you choose to do that. I'm not worrying too much about it because this is just the beginning and I have no idea where this is going to go. I am all about kind of having some fun with this. Plus, I could use a few greeting cards for some upcoming birthdays, and I thought, let's try making a greeting card. I sure haven't done that in a long time. You know, remember back in the day, maybe you were like me, maybe not, but I used to make a lot of greeting cards back in the day. Boy, I sure don't anymore. It's sad. So, anywho, I'm just going to start adding some this is like some neutral vintage paper. Frequently something I like to have sort of riding around in the background of my work. I feel like it's never wrong, right? It's never wrong to start with these neutral bits. And this was out of an old, I don't know, some kind of a book about machine tools or something. I always collect those books because my dad was an engineer when I was growing up, and that was what he designed, was machine tools. And I don't know, I just gravitate towards them at sales, and I find that, well, like father, like daughter, I suppose. So the only other thing, well, you've probably seen me using it already, is a glue stick. And then I use just a baby wipe to kind of make sure that the parts I put down are really grabbing onto the background, which they are. This is some cool paper. I really like it a lot. The color of it is pretty beautiful. This deep green, just gorgeous. Now, the thing about starting like this that I like so much is that, well, you've already got your blacks and your whites on the page, right? And that gives you a nice place to start because you have a lot of your value changes on the page already. And I always, I think I've talked in the past about value changes being so important with our art, and then also being something that for me has been sometimes my downfall. I'll just fess up. I get so excited about all the colors and everything that I either forget to add value changes, or I get into that mid-tone value on a lot of things. And if you have some darks and lights here when you begin, it really does give you some flexibility moving forward. And sure, you can add them back in at any stage, but I'm just saying, try it and see what happens, right? You might like it. Starting with some blacks and whites. I'm not real happy with the red I picked for this. We'll see how it comes out. But right now it's reading a little too much blue red for me, and we can fix that. We can add layers as we move forward. Okay, I have a bunch of my painted tissues here, because I've been painting tissue like a madwoman lately. I've always been very interested and intrigued by, look at this one, intrigued by painted tissue, and lately it's just like I can't get enough of it. Do you ever get on a binge like that? I guess it's better than getting on a potato chip binge, right? And so my painted paper binge continues, my painted tissue binge. There it goes. So the thing I like about painting tissue is that when you layer it over top of your other elements, like I'm doing right here, you can still see the elements underneath, and I really like that a lot. I'm going to use, these are those tempera paint sticks that I like. I think I've showed them to you before. It's been a long time, but I'm going to use a few of these because, I haven't painted if I hadn't got some orange out, right? I do love my orange. This is such a great thing to use for a quick addition of color because it dries down super fast, and well, it's still a little wet right there, mainly because I had some glue stick under it, but it'll dry down very fast, and that is always so nice. I'm going to cut the back off of this. I've seen so many people making these masterboards or motherboards or whatever you want to call them. I remember doing this, gosh, more than 20 years ago when I was taking some classes at UC Berkeley in California, and it was so fun. I had never done anything like this in those days, and I just couldn't get over the idea of doing this and how you could get such cool results so instantly, right? I loved it, just loved it. We'll add some acrylic ink and spread it around. Now it looks like somebody's bled all over my art. Again, that tissue grabs the ink, but I had used some gloss medium on it, so that allowed me to pull some back as well, which is certainly nice if you are ever thinking about ways to save the ability to remove from your tissue, put gloss medium on top of it, because that is quite a way to save it. I'm going to change up my greens a little bit with this woody. It's looking a little dull, the khaki. But for me, this makes it more interesting when you have a couple different colors of green. Quite interesting. And then the oranges too. This is the orange woody. When these are coming through from the bottom like this, they almost look like they're printed pages. It's honestly interesting for me to look at these and remember that, oh yeah, I just drew that or traced through a stencil, because it doesn't read that way at all. It's quite fascinating. Now, you can see that green move. That was the woody. The woodies are not permanent, so you should be mindful if you're working with something like that. I mean, obviously, I know I forgot it, and yeah, it moved. So there you go. There you go, right? It moved. Let's put this over here. You know, with this type of work, when you're just layering up a large sheet like this to cut it apart, there aren't really a lot of rules, and that makes it really fun, doesn't it? I think it does anyway. I think it makes it so much fun. I've done these before, and working with this red makes me think of sometimes I do this at Christmas time, and you can take these and do just all Christmas colors, like, you know, whatever that might mean for you, or whatever color scheme your holiday is in, you know, whatever holiday you're celebrating. I am not going to tell you how to do it, but anyway, I did red and green, and then I just cut them into trees, and oh my gosh, they just instantly look so cute. So there's just so many different oops, that's not a baby wipe. So many different options that you can, you know, employ when you're doing this kind of thing, and you're just layering up. That's all you're doing. This one does not have enough going on to be interesting. It's a tissue, yeah. I'm a little meh about it. So here's another piece of this. No, I don't want that. Let's see here. Got some more tissue. Now this has some black in it. Kind of a graffiti based tissue. Let's get this over here. Okay. I'm going to get my brush out, add some more paint. This is the translucent pumpkin soup. I think it might pull some of these parts together. We shall see. Oops. I don't want to totally obliterate these whites, all right? I mean, I think it's nice having some little white bits here and there, so I don't want to obliterate them. I feel like I've got a decent amount of collage on here. I want to add a few more parts. I think over here. Lost my glue stick for a minute. Perished the thought. Oops. Stay right there. Oh yes, this would be great here. All right, so it's hard to know when to stop. I'll just fess up because it's just cool, right? I mean, you could keep going on and on, especially when you're using these sheer parts. I don't even know which is the front or the back of this one. We'll leave it like that. So I am going to go grab a couple frames and I want to show you what I'm talking about if you're contemplating cutting this down. So I'll be right back. Well, you didn't think that I was going to make a video without using a stencil, did you? Ha! So what I've been doing over here on the side is trying to mix up a nice gray. I took the red and the green that I've been working with and I mixed up a couple gray options. I like the second one the best, which has more of the green, a lot more green than red. I would say 2/3 green, 1/3 red at the most. That red's pretty powerful. And then I wanted to add a little bit of white to it to lighten it up. So I'm trying to make a gray, making a nice neutral here that I thought might really play well with this. And I'm going to use one of the stencils that I used underneath in the beginning, and I'm going to just add some kind of random stencil marks around here. This is that Pam Beer stencil that I'm in love with, and I don't want to add too much, just a little bit. I think that it helps with cohesion. When you cut these up, you can always go back in and do things then. You could do very, specific things to each individual piece for sure. But I just thought I might add a little bit of color here. And of course, it was when I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't even used a stencil. What am I doing here? Go figure, right? So anyway, there's a little bit of stenciling on top. All right, typically I would wait until this dried, but in the interest of time, you could have, this is a little frame, I think this is a 4x6 frame, so you could see how you could isolate certain areas of this that you could use for, you could even make a little piece of art. You could go any which way you wanted on that. If you have these two little L's, these are great because that one, of course, I already got dirty because I did this previously. I always do this before I should. Okay, so you can find little areas to crop that make it interesting. And I pick up these cheap little frame things, or these cheap little mats at like a Dick Blick or something. Sometimes you even see them at the dollar store, believe it or not. But you can easily frame things up, and like, let's say you're going to use this area, you could frame this up or mount it on a piece of board or put it on a greeting card and then go back in and find areas to embellish. I mean, so many options, right? It's like, wow, wow, wow. I think it's a fun way to work. It's a fun way to free yourself up mainly. because sometimes we just get too stuck in our own brains, right? I do for sure. And let's look at this. Yeah, look at that right there. That's kind of nice too. I mean, when you open yourself up, you can really play and you can find some parts of this that are going to make you super happy, and I think you will be delighted with what you have. And you can go back at that point in time, pop out some colors here and there. That orange improves that quite a bit. You know, in my world, orange pretty much improves the world, so maybe it's just me. I hope you had fun watching today, and this gives you an idea of how you can take a board like this with a bunch of collage stuff on it, and you can turn it into something much more interesting, much more important. You can use stencils, you can use collage, tempera sticks, woodies, inks, paints, you name it. Have fun. I can't wait to see what you create.